Hello and welcome to our first webcast for 2012. I'm Tracy Curo. We're going to begin today's webcast with a discussion about personal services income. We'll then move on to our usual tax practitioners update segment, and we'll finish with a discussion about cash economy, in particular the registered agent strategy. Now, as with previous webcasts, you can of course view each of the segments individually. All you need to do is just click on your preferred topic. Joining me now is Assistant Deputy Commissioner Judy O'Connell. Welcome, Judy.
Thanks, Tracy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, the personal services income, or PSI rules, have been in place for some time now, and most agents would be familiar with them, but it does seem that there's one aspect that's not so well understood.
Today I want to talk about the results test, in particular about the first arm of the results test. This is the test we're constantly finding people are getting wrong. The first condition, the result, is the most misunderstood and misinterpreted part of that test.
Well, perhaps we should start with a definition of exactly what PSI really is.
Well, personal services income is income derived mainly as a reward for an individual's personal efforts or skills. This will apply irrespective of whether the income is received by an individual or through a personal services entity such as a company, trust or partnership.
And why were the PSI rules introduced in the first place?
Well, before the PSI rules were introduced, there was a large number of employees incorporating and then entering into a contract to provide services to their previous employer. This allowed them to obtain income splitting opportunities, access to business deductions that they wouldn't necessarily have had access to as an employee, profit retention and deferral opportunities, and access to the corporate tax rate. So the current PSI measures were introduced so that individuals who work in a similar way are taxed alike and have access to similar deductions, irrespective of whether they operate as a sole trader, partnership, company or a trust.
All right, so is all income derived as a reward for an individual's personal efforts or skill subject to PSI rules?
No, Tracy. Personal services income that is earned in the course of conducting a personal services business is not subject to the PSI rules. This is the key point to note. However, Part 4A of the Income Tax Assessment Act may still apply to certain circumstances. Also, some types of income are generally not affected by the PSI rules. These include income that is earned as an employee, generated through a business structure, earned by selling goods, derived mainly by using an asset, or derived by the granting of a right.
Judy, you said that a personal services business is not subject to the PSI rules. How does an individual or other entity actually determine that they are a personal services business?
Well, you qualify as a personal services business if you, 1, meet the results test, or less than 80% of your personal services income in an income year comes from each client, and you meet one of the other 3 personal services business tests, being the unrelated clients test, the employment test, or business premises tests, or you obtain a determination from the ATO confirming that you are a personal services business. It's important to note, Tracy, that where 2 or more individuals channel their PSI through an entity, a personal services business test must be passed or a determination held in relation to each individual's PSI.
So are the mistakes occurring when people are assessing themselves as to whether or not they're a personal services business?
Yes, many are, Tracy, particularly we're self-assessing whether they pass the results test.
Okay, well perhaps then just remind us of how the results test works.
Sure. The results test will be satisfied when 75% or more of personal services income of an individual in a given year meets these 3 conditions. The first, the income is paid to achieve a specified result or outcome. The individual has to provide the necessary tools or equipment, if any, to do the work, and the individual is liable to rectify any defects in the work.
And you've indicated that the ATO is most concerned about the first condition of the test that you just mentioned, that the income is paid to achieve a specified result or outcome.
That's right, Tracy. Investigations have shown that many individuals and personal services entity claiming to have passed the first condition have not actually passed this condition.
Let's then clarify the requirements to pass the condition, Judy. What's actually meant by the expression achieve a specified result or outcome?
Well, case law has shown that the phrase means the performance of a service by one party for another, where the first mentioned party is free to employ his or her own means, for example, third-party labour, plant and equipment, to achieve the contractually specified outcome. In addition, case law shows that an individual will not be able to satisfy the results test merely because the contract states that the income is for producing a result. The courts traditionally look at the true essence of contracts, meaning that they look at the substance as well as the form.
You've just given us a pretty broad definition there of the expression achieve a specified result or outcome. So what are some of the factors that the courts have considered to be relevant?
Tracy, the results test is based on the traditional criteria for distinguishing independent contractors from employees. One needs to consider a variety of different criteria established through case law. And while not all the criteria needs to be met in any one case, all of the factors need to be considered and weighed up in reaching a conclusion. Taxation ruling TR 2005-16, income tax, pay-as-you-go withholding from payments to employees, sets out how independent contractors are distinguished from employees, and it covers the traditional factors on which the results test is based.
Take us through then the factors that have to be considered.
So the factors to consider, as shown on the next two slides, are the contractual obligations, how the work is to be performed, risks borne by the contractor, the need to supply tools and equipment, hours of work and place of work, leave and other entitlements, payment arrangements, payment of expenses, method of appointment, termination of contract and delegation powers. Now, the need to supply tools and equipment and the issue of risk, including the obligation to rectify defect work, are covered in the second and third arms of the result test. Today, I'm focusing on other factors which need to be carefully weighed up to determine whether the money is actually paid to achieve a specific result or outcome, as opposed to being paid for work performed.
Mm-hmm. All right, perhaps we should look at each of those in a little more detail, Judy. So why don't you start with the contractual obligations and the way in which the work is performed and how those affect whether the money is paid to achieve a specific result or outcome.
A contract for a result will usually state that the independent contractor is contracting to perform a specific task or a series of tasks. A contract for result will usually allow the independent contractor to maintain a high level of discretion and flexibility as to how the tasks are going to be performed.
What effect do hours and place of work have, Judy, on whether the contract is for a result?
Well, depending on the nature of the work, a contract for result may allow the independent contractor to set his or her own hours and or place of work.
Mm-hmm. And how is the presence of leave provisions or other allowances relevant?
Where a contract is for a result, it will generally not include any leave provisions or other allowances. The presence of leave or allowance provisions suggests that a contract is for performing work rather than for achieving a specific result or outcome.
And what sort of payment arrangements would indicate that a contract is for a result?
Payments for a contract for a result are usually based on performance of the contract rather than being paid on an hourly rate, a piece rate or an award rate. The contractor is paid a fixed amount on completion of the contract. However, the contract may include progressive payments made after completion of specific milestones.
And what would you expect to see in relation to how expenses are paid and the mode of appointment in determining whether a contract is one for a result?
Where the contract is for a result, the independent contractor usually pay their own expenses relating to the contract. Where a contract is obtained via advertisements to be public, it is likely to be a contract for a result.
Okay, and what sort of delegation powers might apply in relation to a contract?
Where the independent contractor has the right to delegate some or all of the tasks to another person, it is likely that the contract is a contract for result.
And finally, Judy, how might termination of the contract be relevant in determining the true nature of the contract?
Tracy, in a contract for a result, the independent contractor is contracted to complete a set task. The payer can only terminate the contract without penalty where the independent contractor has not fulfilled the conditions of the contract. The contract usually contains terms dealing with defaults and breach of contract by either party. In contrast, where the contract is for work rather than for a result, if either party ends the contract prior to its completion, the contractor would be entitled to invoice the other party for work performed to date.
And Judy, if agents would like more information on distinguishing a contract for a result from a contract for work, they should go to your website?
Yes, that's right, Tracy. Agents and their clients can visit our website at ato.gov.au/PSI for additional information on personal services income.
Just one more question. If after examining the contract and weighing up the factors that we've been discussing, agents are still unsure if their client has passed the first arm of the results test, what would you like them to do?
If the taxpayer or their tax agent finds they are still unsure if they have passed the results test, they should first check whether they have passed either the results test or one of the other three personal services business tests, being the unrelated clients test, the employment test, or business premises test. If the taxpayer or their agent is not sure if they have passed one of these four personal services business tests, they can apply for a personal services business determination from the ATO. A personal services business determination is a notice from the ATO stating that you are conducting a personal services business. The form can be obtained by visiting our website and searching for QC 001 62447. So complete the form and post it to Australian Tax Office, PO Box 1130, Penrith, New South Wales 2740.
Judy, just before I let you go, I guess I should ask about the consequences of non-compliance.
Yes, Tracy. I'd just like to briefly remind agents that even where a taxpayer passes the results test and the personal services income rules do not apply, if the taxpayer has entered into an arrangement where the main purpose is to obtain a tax benefit, for example, by income splitting, the taxpayer may incur additional tax and a penalty under our Part 4A General Anti-Avoidance Rules. Agents can refer to the General Anti-Avoidance Rules and how they may apply to the personal services business fact sheet for further information. In relation to Part 4A, we will continue our current test case program to clarify the law relating to general anti-avoidance provisions and personal services income. We will also provide further information as it becomes available to contractors and tax practitioners to assist them to get the tax treatment right.
Judy, thanks very much for your time today, and I'm sure that very comprehensive discussion of the PSI rules will have clarified a number of important practical issues for agents and their clients.
It's been a pleasure, Tracy.
Assistant Deputy Commissioner Judy O'Connell.